In zip mode, I don't really have anything to complain about, but I want to set your expectation correctly. It is nowhere close to the kind of bubbly performance that we are used to from the 450 series scooters.
नहीं वो रहने दो ना.
It's not meant to be.
Let's take iQube, which we've said is on the calmer side. More recently,
Yeah, so the biggest difference from iQube to Rizta is actually not the engine performance, it is the suspension.
Aha.
Yeah, which we'll talk about it in a minute. So if you think that the iQube is a reasonably performing city scooter, so is the Rizta. I can't honestly even tell you whether the Rizta is faster than the iQube or not.
Perfect.
Because I rode the iQube here in Mumbai, a relatively flat place, but I rode that at the base of the Nandi Hills where everything was a slope. So honestly, I don't have a frame of reference. Did I feel like zip mode caused me to think, I wish there was more performance? No, honestly, I didn't. Did I miss the last 10 kmph? Yes, I did, but then I would. Right, it's me. On the suspension front, the suspension setup is a lot better than the 450 suspension.
Which isn't really saying much.
But remember, the 450 was designed to be a sporty scooter. These are relatively small suspension units. There's not a lot Ather has done with them, even over the years in terms of retuning and resetting the suspension. This scooter feels a lot more comfortable. But I'm not saying the word comfortable by itself. I'm just saying a lot more comfortable. If you ride it back to back with the iQube, especially if you're a slow rider, you will think that the iQube is a lot more luxurious and plush. There is a flip side to this story. When you start to go faster and hit larger bumps on the Rizta stays composed. This is the area where the iQube S starts to lose control over its composure and it starts to bounce around as the suspension units can no longer absorb the hits. So the iQube might feel like the better setup initially, but I think the Rizta is the better setup overall. I wouldn't call either of these two scooters a marvel of engineering. I don't think either of them achieve any new greatness in terms of how family scooters are set up in India today.
And in terms of tire sizes?
Tire sizes are the exact same as before. So they used to use...
you mean as the 450X?
As the 450X. There is no change on that front at all. Again, look, remember the powertrain, most of the hardware, wheels, brakes, nothing has changed. Big change, rear brake is now a drum. Because this is a scooter that's built to a cost. There's no escaping that. So where the Ather used to have 2 discs, no ABS obviously, you've got a drum at the back. And that's a good thing because the Ather rear brake was pretty sharp, if you remember. It was very easy to lock up the rear wheel, a setting that they have not changed after so many years of telling them that this is too sharp. The drum brake removes that problem. Drum brakes on scooters at the back especially work quite well. You never really suffer saying, oh, it's a drum. You never feel like that, but it's taken that sharp bite out. So it's a very usable set of brakes now. Solved. Solved in, to me, not the classiest way possible, but solved. So it's behind us now, right? They've also covered the bottom in lots of plastic shrouding. Because there was a complaint during the monsoons last year and there was a specific belt related issue where the belts would start squeaking from the filth that was going into the belt. So now the shrouds have gotten ever larger. So if you remember the Apex, it already had a very large cover over the belt. I think it was not possible to do it, but they have. The Rizta has an even larger cover over the rear belt. So the bottom of the scooter as it comes out of the bodywork is just covered in black plastic on both sides. It's not bad looking, it's just, wow, that's a lot of plastic. It makes, for example, reinflating or checking tire pressures on the rear tire a little bit challenging. They do have 90-degree valves, so it sticks out, but they're rubber mounted and it's very difficult to reach. So when you put the tire pressure gauge against it and push it, it just pushes back and releases air instead. So then you have to put one hand around, like it's kind of complicated, but I wish that when manufacturers do 90-degree valves, which is an awesome idea, don't rubber mount them. You destroy some of the functionality of the valve because every time I push, the rubber bends and then it doesn't achieve the result, right? So brakes are good, handling is very good. Again, not sharp. It's very calm, considered, pleasant and trustworthy. And I think trustworthy is a very good word for this scooter in that sense. Comfort levels, you'll be okay. Seat is good. It's a massive seat. And it's not so massive when you look at it the first time, you won't notice it. When you sit down on it and you start scooching back and realize you still haven't hit the halfway mark and I'm 6 foot tall, then you really start to think, yeah, this is a big seat. It's also reasonably flat. So unlike on the 450s where you sort of slide forward a little bit, it doesn't happen on the Rizta. So they've solved that.
So this will be good for going triples?
Idea is you shouldn't be going triples, even though he suggested it. But the idea is if you were, for example, carrying a backpack with you to school, you could put the backpack between your legs and then your parent could be riding the scooter in front and you'd have enough space for the backpack between you and the parent without you feeling kind of squeezed. In that sense, the space is useful. You can misuse things, but you can misuse anything. So, Ather cannot solve human behavior. I mean, we've been trying to do some of it.
Yes, we love talking about new cars and bikes.
and we have spoken a lot. You can find many more such videos on the main MotorInc channel. Do remember to like, share, and subscribe.